Hey guys, subscribe for daily content. And if you're shopping for gear, make sure you check out the description for the newest items at some of the very best online retailers. There's also links for some of the items that I personally recommend. Thanks!
What's going on YouTube? Metal Complex here, and today I've got a very interesting knife review slash knife overview to share with you guys. This is the Vosteed Grind, a very, very utilitarian, very awesome budget knife. This is just barely a budget knife. I'm going to tell you guys right now at the beginning of the video, which I don't normally do. This is a $75 knife. On this channel, the line for a budget knife is anything 75 or less, so this just barely makes it, but it's got a lot of really cool details. The main thing being the grind, as you may have guessed. This has a Scandi grind on it. So I'm going to tell you guys right now, this knife comes in two different forms. It comes with a full Scandi or zero grind, and then it also comes with a micro beveled version, or it comes in a version that is micro beveled, which I believe, as you can see right here, is the one that I have. Now, I am not a professional at all when it comes to grinds and things like that. I am a pocket knife design reviewer, right? And I'm a collector enthusiast. I'm also definitely not a bushcrafter, which is something that this pocket knife apparently was designed to do. So, I'm going to be working with the tools that I have at my disposal. But I think it's important to point out for people who, are looking to carry this as an everyday pocket knife, right? Which is absolutely 100% the vast majority of the use that this thing is going to get. The vast majority of people who buy this are going to use it as an everyday cutting tool. You might consider the one with the micro bevel because it's going to be easier to touch up versus the one with a true zero grind. That means you're going to be, sharpening it way back here. I mean, you can sharpen it however you want, right? But if you want to maintain the factory edge, the one with the micro bevel should be easier for most people. So keep that in mind. This should be available, I think, right? Either way, I'll link it down below so you guys can check it out if you want to. Thanks so much to Vosteed for sending this in for review. Thanks to my patrons for supporting me. And please make sure to follow me on Instagram at metal_complex. This knife gets ridiculously thin behind the edge. Either version is going to be so unbelievably razor sharp compared to other factory knives in this general territory and just knives in general. So if you are, somebody who does surgery on a grape for a living, you might, I don't know, maybe this would be a good tool for that. It's going to be crazy sharp right out of the box. The factory edge on this guy is ridiculous. And I know the paper cut test doesn't prove anything, but I cannot tell you how absolutely effortless it is to slice with this thing. To get the just barely grabbing it, bites into that paper so easily. Cannot stress that enough. Let's go ahead and measure it. Overall length of the Vosteed Grind coming in at about 7.6 inches. Yeah, how about blade length? 3 1/4, cutting edge, 3 1/8. How about some size comparisons? Just a few today up against the Ontario Rat Model 1. And the Rat Model 2. It's closer to the Rat 2, but definitely a larger knife. How about up against the Demco 80 20.5? Definitely more in the ballpark of the 20.5. How about up against the Spyderco Para 3? Same kind of thing, similar ballpark as the Para 3. And then finally the Benchmade Bug Out. Very similar overall length, but this is a noticeably fatter knife. How is the action on this knife? Very good. The crossbar lock that they're using, and this is the same thing as the axis lock, and it utilizes omega springs, but we have some high tension, or just positioned really close together points of the omega spring, right? The tension is really nice. I think all crossbar locks should be like this. It's heavier tension than normal, but it just feels so much better. It doesn't take that much more strength to operate, but when it pulls back and locks itself back up, it just feels so much more solid. It feels so much more secure. The lock bar does not wiggle or wobble in the closed position, which is something that is present in a lot of other crossbar lock style knives or axis lock style knives. So I really like it. It is a thumb stud operating knife. We do have a little bit of a fuller here, and I think maybe if you really want to risk that, I don't know that I want to do that on camera and cut my finger open. Maybe you can. Flicking it out with your thumb or even using your middle finger and reverse flicking it is very, very easy. Actuation is awesome, and it is fully ambidextrous with a lefty mounting position for the clip, which is fantastic. Thank you. Fully ambidextrous knife. Lefties, rejoice. Let's go ahead and do carry profile. Thickness up against the Spyderco Para 3, just a hair thicker, not much. length and height up against the PM2 and Para 3. This guy is going to be very easy to carry. Just a little longer than the Para 3, just slightly, a hair longer. Nowhere near as tall as either, though. So you should be good to go in that department. No real major complaints there. Let's take a look at the inside. We do have lipped steel liners with contoured micarta scales on the outside on this version. We have milled out steel liners for weight reduction. You can get this in a few different color variations, and you can also get them in a frag pattern. So if you like your knives to look like grenades, don't throw them. They don't explode, but they are dangerous to throw for sure. Man, why? Why even take time out of this review to make a stupid joke? And now I have to sit here. We all have to cringe at it together. My God, I'm not even going to edit this. That's going to be my punishment. And then you having to sit through it and complain about it in the comments, that's also going to be my punishment. All right? I deserve it. Sorry about that. Let's go ahead and do a hardware check. Oh, how do I transition out of that? I'm going to get out my tools. As per usual, my tools are very inexpensive and very recommendable. You can find them right down in the section of my description that talks about the tools I use on this channel. The pivot is a T8. Awesome. The body screws are T8. Also awesome. Pocket clip screws are T6. No big deal there. Just 2 screws. And then no additional, there's nothing else there really at all. I mean, I didn't need the cartridge liner because we normally have to see a cartridge liner in combination with an axis lock, but the entire liner is steel, so I didn't need that. So that's great. It should be easy to take apart until you get to the Omega springs, and it's a little bit more tricky. I'm not going to say that it's hard. It's just a little bit more tricky. So if you really feel like you have to and you've never done it before, just be ready. Have a place to put all your hardware, right? Springs can fly out all over the place. It's definitely a little bit more tricky than a liner lock or a frame lock, something like that. But for the most part, you should be good to go. And you also have, you can also remove the axis studs, I guess I'm going to call them, with Torx as well, if you want to do that. Pretty cool. Okay, let's go ahead and weigh it. I'm going to guess this knife weighs, I don't know, 3.75 to 4. A little less, 3.67 ounces, which I think is just fine. I really don't have a problem with that. Not absolutely perfect ratios, but good enough. Balance is also pretty good. A little bit back of the pivot, but not much. Right about where your index finger is going to be anyway. So I think that's just fine. Let's go ahead and measure blade stock thickness real quick. Blade stock thickness on the Vosteed Grind is coming in at 118,000, so not super thick to begin with. Okay, meat and potatoes time. The overall aesthetic of this knife is very knife. It looks knife, right? Knife. If you were to remove some of the fancier lines here, right, like in the blade, it would look like a bajillion other knives. The main thing here, what they were obviously going for, is a utilitarian ergonomic cutting tool that had classic lines, but with the addition or the additional benefit of the Vosteed Grind. Now, how useful that is in bushcraft, again, I have no idea. I would imagine it's very, very good for wood processing, right? I imagine it will also be very good at just regular knife stuff. This type of thing absolutely caters to it's not even enthusiasts, it's just knife people who like knife, right? You like knife, I like knife, huh? Look at this edge, it's a little bit different, right? It's just one of those little elements that people find interesting because it's slightly different than what we normally see in the knife world. We don't generally see a Vosteed Grind on a pocket knife, right? We see it, it's there, but not very often, right? And that's what makes it interesting. The lines were chosen, I would imagine, because they are time tested. They work. The ergonomic lines of this knife are great, and on top of that, they've knocked the edges down and put little scallops where it was necessary. This one's really, I think, mainly for slightly better access to the thumb stud, but it also works really well ergonomically. It's very, very comfortable. You can even kind of choke up here. Be really careful about that, right? But you could if you really wanted to. The thumb stud is just ever so slightly in the cutting path, but not enough for me to make a big deal out of it. Apparently enough for me to talk about it, though. But yeah, it's good, right? This is the type of thing that I could easily carry around, feel confident with, right? It's going to do exactly what it was designed to do. It's very purpose-built, and I like that. There's not really a lot of flashy stuff going on here. Still a little bit of personality, a little extra personality in the blade. I do really like how this fuller comes out and sort of ends right at the nose of the blade, but we still have a little bit of swedge up here. The flat kind of meets out between the taper, dropping down to the cutting edge and into the swedge. Just nice, right? They could have just left that as a blah, just like a nothing area, but they didn't. It looks really good. We have sort of a tumbled finish and a machine belt satin combination here, which looks nice. Vosteed on one side, and look at that, 154 cm. That is great. That is absolutely smack dab right on the money. 75 bucks. That's the steal I like to see. That or 14C28N. There are a number of other really great steals, but those are my two favorite at this price point. I think the grind is phenomenal, super utilitarian, no matter what you're going to use it for. I mean, generally speaking, within normal knife parameters, up to, I assume, bushcraft stuff. But the grind is great, very utilitarian, has character, has the blade material that I like. It's one of my favorite compositions of all time. Nice fine grain structure, very, very well-rounded, stainless, decent edge retention, very easy to touch up on a strop, which is probably what you're going to end up using most of the time to sharpen this. You're probably not going to want to try and resharpen it every single time just to save yourself the pain. But yeah, it's just really good. The blade and the material, everything came together really well. And the micarta also looks really nice. I think I would have chosen the dark green micarta. I think that one looks really good, but you can choose whatever color you want. Let's move on here. I think that's really it for the blade. The thumb studs are also very, very comfortable. I like these, not stepped or too deep or pointy or anything like that. They're just nice. Let's talk about, well, okay, there's a lanyard hole. Great, it's there. Let's talk about how perfect this pocket clip is. My God, if I were to design a pocket clip, this is almost exactly, I think this is exactly what I would do, right? Deep carry, nested pocket clip, nested screws, casual drop, slight bill. Just, yeah. That's it. That's what you do. Perfect, right? Even the length of it is, it's totally fine, right? It's less than 50% of the handle, which is fine. Especially considering it's so shallow. The bill is not grabby and it doesn't create a hot spot. And it's can be flipped over to the other side, so lefties can enjoy it. Perfect. I don't have anything else to say. It's nice. They have the little logo on there, and it's polished, whatever. It looks great. There's really nothing else to say here. It's just essentially a perfect pocket clip in my book. We have the adjustment head over here. We do have the stop pin located in its usual place. No shouldering, but that's fine. We are running on bearings. I don't know if you guys are actually going to be able to see in there, but we are running on bearings. Yeah, I can see them in there. The lockout. Let's do a soft lockout. Absolutely solid. A little harder. Same thing, right? Let's go ahead and flick it out. The lockout is absolute. Very, very minimal, almost nothing. It's not even stick. It's just the tension making me think that it's sticky. It's not. Nothing. No. But it's in there, right? That's what you want. You want that thing. You want that thing in there, right? I start saying this stuff before I think about how it's going to sound to however many thousand people are going to watch this. Yeah, it's great, right? The action is super smooth. Pivot lash. No pivot lash. Very nice, very smooth, consistent. Plenty of tension, snapping it down there into the closed position. And then we have, is this one, maybe it's a little tiny bit off center, is it? Is it mushing? No. Let's try tightening it down a little bit. You can always do the little paper trick if you want to, the centering trick. If you don't know what that is, you can type in how to center the blade of a pocket knife, metal complex, and I've got a little instructional video if you want to watch it. I think this is actually tightened all the way down. I don't want to strip that. So it looks like this is maybe slightly off-centered. Boy, that's pretty nitpicky. I mean, it is technically, but I don't know. I really like this. I really think this is cool, and it's got enough personality there to make it interesting, but not so much that it hinders the knife. I think it's really cool that they gave people an option for a full-on zero Scandi grind for people who really want that or know how to maintain it, right? Or people who want to learn how to maintain it, great. Or if you don't want to, you can get the micro beveled one, which again is the one that I would go with, right? If you're just going to use it casually or you just don't know how to sharpen or you're not very experienced, right? Or maybe you're just not going to like bushcraft the heck out of it, right? Whatever. You can pick whatever you want. I think this is a phenomenal knife. It's going to work in a wide variety of scenarios. The lock is very, very strong. One thing I will nitpick on, and this is something that I think should be the case with all companies utilizing bar locks with Omega springs, give us extra Omega springs, please. I've never had one break. I know lots of people who use these styles of knives have never had one break, but they do sometimes. Right? Sometimes people use them for 10 years and they don't break. Sometimes people use them for one day and they break, right? I think the failure rate is extremely low. If you're worried that it's like 50-50, it's not. It's like one in every, 200 people might have an early break or something like that. For that reason, though, it is a more common failure occurrence than something like a liner lock or something that has fewer pieces. So Vosteed, include some extra Omega springs. And this is something I'm going to start saying in any review where we're talking about a bar lock with Omega springs. Put some extra ones in there. It can't possibly cost you that much money. If you buy this and you're worried about that, it's very easy to find extra Omega springs that are sized correctly. And they're super cheap, right? So it's not the end of the world, right? But I think that would be a good idea. Outside of that, can I recommend this knife? Yeah, I mean, honestly, the fact that they offer a version with a micro bevel for us filthy casuals, yeah, this knife is essentially recommendable to everybody. It's also a budget knife, and it's ambidextrous. This is such a freaking home run. I mean, it might look really boring to a lot of people, but this is an excellent pocket knife. I highly recommend this knife. It's going to go on my most recommended knives playlist, and it's also going to go on my cheap knives I like playlist because it just barely meets the mark for that. But this is all day worth $75. It's really cool. It's a fun knife. It's a utilitarian knife, right? And it's a good, dependable cutting tool that folds. I like it. I really like this one. Vosteed is doing some excellent work in 2023. That's going to be pretty much it today, guys. Like I said, this will be linked right down below so you guys can check it out if you want to. Please make sure to follow me on Instagram at metal_complex. If you enjoyed this video, leave a like. If you'd like to check out my other content, I do, of course, have lots of videos of knives that are either expensive or inexpensive that I do or don't like, so check those out. And if you enjoy all my content, go ahead and click on that Metal Complex logo right there and subscribe because there's definitely more coming. Thanks again for watching, everybody, and have a great day.